This weekend, Fast X, the latest film in the long-running Fast and Furious franchise, opened in theaters. Today I'm going to rank all 11 Fast and Furious movies from the worst to the best. Coming in last place quite easily is F9. Now, the first few times of these movies being camp was fun, but I feel with this film, they weren't even trying. It has some fun moments, but there is such a thing as too much. The plot is convoluted, all over the place, and overstuffed. The plots with backstory are honestly kind of boring, and the film is overly long. The stunts in this movie are too over the top, even for this franchise, and at this point it seems like it's become a parody of itself. A car Tarzan swings in this movie, and they take the meme of, in the next movie they're going to go to space, and they actually do that. They go all the way with it and go to space. I'm not kidding. And there's also meta humor about how nobody ever gets seriously hurt during any of this, and you can't just excuse lazy writing by acknowledging that it's lazy writing. Because if nobody is in any danger, the film has no stakes. The plot basically doesn't have anything that matters or connects, and it's just one plot convenience after another, and it feels like they were making it up as they go along without any plan. None of it makes sense. It can be fun when it wants to be, but I just can't excuse how stupid it is. Number 10, The Fast and the Furious, the original from 2001. I enjoyed this movie well enough, I guess, but by today's standards, it is pretty dated. The film does a great job of introducing us all to the main characters and establishing their dynamic, but I wasn't really able to get into this one as much as the others. Number 9, Tokyo Drift. Now, they did do something kind of different with this one by focusing on a new character and setting, which I do appreciate. Unfortunately, like the first two films, the writing and acting are not the best. It's not laughably bad, it just feels lazy. The whole movie happens because people decide to make utterly stupid decisions, and the main character, who's supposed to be fresh out of high school, looks like he's in his late 20s, so it's hard to suspend your disbelief with that aspect. None of the characters are interesting, and the film tries to make up for its lack of plot by trying to have style. But in that aspect, it succeeds. It's a movie about drift racing set in Tokyo. You get pretty much what it promises. The race scenes are at least well choreographed and fun to watch, but honestly, I wish the movie were just 2 hours of watching cars race and do ridiculous stunts, because everything in between that focuses on the characters is very boring. Number 8, Fast X. Jason Momoa, fantastic villain. Arguably the best villain in the franchise. The film gives you all the racing, stunts, and action you expect, but what really holds it back, though, is the ending. The movie tries to turn itself into Infinity War or Empire Strikes Back by having this be the first movie in the franchise where it ends on a cliffhanger of the bad guy winning and making you think they're going to kill Vin Diesel. And we all know they're not going to do that, because nobody stays dead in these movies. Especially because literally 30 seconds after they kill off Vin Diesel, they bring back Gal Gadot, who died like 4 movies ago. It's a well-done film overall, but it's hard to feel excited for the next one when nothing seems to matter and there are basically no stakes. Number 7, Too Fast, Too Furious. A movie that's just kind of okay. It has a much better story than the first one, and the stunts are a step up, and it has a fantastic villain, but we were still at the point where this franchise didn't quite know what it wanted to be yet. It's entertaining enough, but most of the other sequels I think were much better. Number 6, Fast and Furious from 2009, not to be confused with the first movie. There's definitely a shift in the narrative with this one. What started out as a movie about heists has now evolved into somewhat of a revenge thriller. Vin Diesel's character sets out to get revenge on the man who murders his girlfriend, even though she comes back like 3 movies later. This film brings Gal Gadot to the franchise, and she's a welcome addition. Her character brings a lot of mystery and energy to the film. The scene where the main characters from the previous films are all racing against her is one of the best scenes in the movie. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about cars, though, so whenever the movie pauses to talk about how the engines work or stuff like that, that kind of slows the film down for me, and that's a problem with most of these movies. But the action is fantastic. These races are some of the best in the franchise, and it does have a bit of a narrative flow issue as the plot can move a bit fast at times. Number 5, Fate of the Furious, or F8. Furious 7 was the perfect ending. So as a consequence, this one feels a bit of a step down. It's not a bad film, it just feels unnecessary. This is kind of like what they did with Creed 3 earlier this year. Creed 2 ended on such a perfect note for that franchise that Creed 3 felt pretty lacking. That being said, I still found a lot of entertainment value in this film. Charlize Theron, who's a really great villain in this, and it's fun to see Jason Statham. The script is also very witty, and the cast is very quick with their banter. At times, it almost feels like an MCU movie. The scene that made me laugh the hardest was when Jason Statham was protecting a baby, and he kills one of the villain's henchmen after the henchman shoots near the baby, and Jason Statham is constantly asking the baby if he's okay, because even though he's kind of a bad dude, hey, even villains have standards. Come after a baby, him coming after you. Kind of funny. This franchise also continues to impress with the insane stunts and action. For me, it's kind of middle of the road, but it was a fun junk food movie. Number 4, Fast 5. Not only is the action some of the best and most fun to watch, the characters are actually developed a bit further. They didn't have a lot of character development in the first 2 or even 3 films, but Tokyo Drift is kind of its own thing. Particularly Paul Walker's character, because in this film he's preparing to become a father. And this movie actually had a lot of part to it. I also enjoyed its Ocean's 11 style heist element. The Rock enters this franchise as a cop hired to stop Vin Diesel and his crew from pulling off this insane heist. He brings a lot of charisma to the film. His fight with Vin Diesel is one of the best sequences in the movie. The whole movie is a blast. The opening scene where they're trying to break Vin Diesel out of prison because he went to prison at the end of the last film, and they have this fight on the train, to practicing going fast enough not to be spotted by the cameras, to its insane finale where they drag a safe out of the bank and try to outrun the cops. This whole movie was just bonkers, and I had a lot of fun with it. Number 3, Fast and Furious 6. This film had one of the most intriguing plots in the franchise, as it makes the audience try to figure out how a certain character who was thought to be dead has now come back, which makes for a fun mystery. Luke Evans plays a fantastic villain, and my really only issue with this film is that the timeline is super wonky, because it's revealed at the end that this takes place right before Tokyo Drift. Tokyo Drift came out in 2006. This movie came out in 2013. So why is all the tech in Tokyo Drift from 2006? Another issue is that Gina Carano's character is revealed to have been working for Luke Evans this whole time. She was a bad guy, she was a bad spy, but this reveal just comes out of nowhere, and it is never built up to or foreshadowed, so it just feels like a twist thrown in there for the sake of having a twist. Number 2, Furious 7. This is an emotional film with a lot of heart, and it's arguably the most insane in the franchise. A car jumping from one building to another building to another building, cars parachuting backwards out of an airplane, that awesome street fight between Vin Diesel and Jason Statham just being an awesome villain in this movie. This film has it all. It's got a great spy story. It's one of the best in the franchise, even though logically it makes no sense, because there's a scene where The Rock, who's been an arm cast the whole time, just tears off his arm cast. And of course, like all these movies, there are stunts that would kill you if you tried them in real life. And I'm really curious as to what the story pitches are for these films, because it's not so much a story-driven film as it is a stunt show, much like the later Mission Impossible movies. I don't care that the film makes no sense, because it is so fun. Sometimes a film doesn't need high-quality dialogue or compelling characters. Sometimes you just need logic-defying insanity. And frankly, I'd rather have a film that makes no sense, but I'm entertained by, instead of a film where I'm bored out of my mind. And I was never bored with this. In fact, I was probably very gleeful with this film. The insane stunts in this film, they put the biggest grin on my face, and it was massively entertaining. It's not smart nor high quality, but it is bonkers and it is fun. And coming in at first place is Hobbs and Shaw. Go figure that the best film in this series isn't even one of the main ones, it's the spinoff. Somehow, this franchise went from being about street racers fighting heists, and now evolved into The Rock and Jason Statham team up to fight a super soldier played by Idris Elba. It's so far disconnected from the other films, and yet I love it. The action is fantastic, it's close quarters, it's the best in the franchise. These are the same people that did the John Wick movies, and you can tell. The script is witty, the banter between The Rock and Statham is great. Idris Elba is a fantastic villain, though his plan is a bit cliche, but it's kind of on par for these films. And the film just goes absolutely full camp in the last third, but also does not go too far with it. As far as junk food movies go, this is one of the ultimate ones. This is the one where I was laughing the most and enjoying myself the most throughout. It is the best in the franchise. It comes in at number 1. So I'm going to share a ranking of the Fast and Furious movies, and I will see you next time.